Hey guys. That's not good. Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to build this rat rack. This will be the second one of this size that I've built. I like the first one so much and I wanted to build another one. This is what I decided to do. I've changed some things from the first few racks that I've built. I've built some smaller ones, mainly for support underneath of the tubs for chew outs, potential chew outs. I put a shelf in here. This shelf is lined with a piece of Formica. You can do the Formica, you can leave it out. You can do the shelf, you can leave it off. I like it because it adds stability to the rack itself, and like I said, it adds a little protection. If you get something chewing out on the bottom, it's going to hit this first. You'll see that they're attempting it before it becomes a problem. I've also added casters to the bottom of mine. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. It lifts it up a little bit. If you're using a watering system, you can shrink the space in between the tubs down so you can put an extra one in here. I use the water bottles, so I need a little bit more space. There's also enough space here for one of the larger bottles to sit in here and still pull the tub out. Sometimes I've seen it where you can't do that. You got to remove the bottle and then pull the tub out. Another thing I've done is added risers to the area where the food goes. It gives you a pretty big depth of quantity of food in here. It lasts quite a while, so that's really nice. And that's pretty much it. It's really easy to build. Give it a shot and then let me know how it goes.
Okay, for starters, we have 6 2x4s. They're all cut 63 inches long. I've got a dado cut where each shelf goes. You don't need to do this. It just helps line the shelves up a little easier during assembly. And you don't really need it for strength too much because there's not a whole lot of weight going on it. It just kind of holds things together with screws and you're good. But like I said, I dado to help things go together a little easier. You don't need the shelves, but I put them in there for a little added security against chew-throughs on the bottom and just to put less pressure on the rails because these tubs are heavier. These are the 21-gallon tubs, so they're pretty good. They're about 3 foot deep and not quite 2 foot wide, I believe. I can give you the exact measurements as we get further along in the project. So anyway, if you plan on doing the dados for shelf alignment, I'll zoom in so you can get a look. Got 13 inches from the one end, and on the other end it's going to be 3/4 up from one end of the 2x4. That's going to be the bottom. I believe they're about 15 5/8 in between. So there's your measurements there. Come up to the next one, and then of course this is your top. Hopefully that makes it easier for you. You can stop the video and get the measurements for you. So next, of course, we have the tops of all the tubs that are going to be screened. These are pre-made, so I'll give you the sizes of the parts. So we're using roughly 2x2s. They're 36 1/4 inches long. .24 inches wide. It does have a center divider, one side for water bottle, because like I said, I use a water bottle on these. The other side for food. It's going to hold plenty of food because we'll have the buildup in it. And you can make this pretty much any length you want. This looks like it's running about 12 3/4 inches long. Like I said, you can make it whatever you want. Just put a spreader in between. You can have 3 of those, 1, 2, and 3. And that's going to vary depending on how thick your 2x2s are. Sorry for the shakiness. In this particular case, they're about 21 1/4 inches. It could be a little less if your material ends up being a little bit thicker. I happen to run mine down to 1 3/8 square just to make things a little easier for me. But if you're getting it right from the lumberyard, it's going to be 1.5 by 1.5. So just, like I said, just make the overall dimension 24. The back side is just stapled in. As you can see, I got plenty of staples that run along. And they run the whole perimeter of the frame. It's 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch wire, galvanized. And so far, I guess it's held up good for me. Everybody else uses it. It must be working fine. The ends are just screwed together, one screw on each end. And same with the divider. And of course, you'll be needing 4 of those. Now this is the buildup that we're going to add. That's going to hold a lot more food than just the 2x2s will hold. This is just 2x4. We cut them to the length right here as your divider, plus this piece and this piece. So you just cut that the same. And then for the width, you just make that so it is the same width as from here to the outside of this piece. Then we'll just screw from the bottom up and fasten that piece on. And that'll hold quite a bit of food. So as you can see, we got the top flipped upside down with the little fence around the food tray underneath positioned. We've got it flush to the outside, flush to the front on both sides. And we went and we pre-drilled a hole for each screw. These are 2.5 inch drywall screws. Pre-drilled. Put that in, tighten it up, and we'll do all 4 of them like this. Okay, so here is the plywood shelves. I used 3/4 inch birch. You can use cheaper plywood. I used birch because it's just a couple dollars more and it stays much flatter than the other stuff. The dimensions are 36 by 24.5. And that's if you choose to do the dados in your uprights. The dados are 1/4 inch deep, so you need to account for a total of 1/2 inch more for your shelves. If you remember your wire racks, the tops are going to be 24 inches wide total. If you choose not to use the dados, cut the plywood 24 inches wide, just like the screen tops. So start the assembly by putting the shelves in the dados and screwing them in. You're going to flush the shelf to the front of the 2x4 leg. And then we have pre-drilled holes. We drilled those ahead of time. But we're going to also have to pre-drill into the plywood. And then we'll just put a screw in and tighten it down. Again, it's flush to the front of the 2x4. The same goes for the back. Then what we'll do is we'll put one right in the center to give us a total of 6 legs. So there's our pre-drilled hole. Now we can put our screw in. And you don't have to use the same screws I'm using. You can use like a 2.5 inch drywall, 3 inch drywall screw, you know, whatever you think is going to hold. Okay, so you can see I'm just about done. I did all 4 corners first, then put the middle ones in. I'm getting ready to put this last one, attach this last middle piece. Then what I'll do is turn it upside down and set the last piece in from the top. So after we get all the shelves put in, or the first 3, We want to tip it upside down. And then we'll go ahead and fasten it into the bottom. We just pop it in there, put a couple screws into the side, and then to make a space or a block for the casters, we'll put a 2x4 that stretches from one side to the other. So just whatever this width is, because your material might change a little bit, just measure that, then cut this piece to the total outside width of your 2x4s. Then we'll just screw it in. I'll put a screw probably straight down into the bottom here, and then I'll probably do a couple up along the bottom into the 2x4. Now, one thing you may notice about these tubs is along the edges they have these graduated marks, and they're raised numbers with little hash marks. And as you slide the tub back and forth out of the rack, I'll give you a demonstration. It'll scrape against the screen. So what you want to do is probably sand those off, like I did on this one. You can see you can still see the numbers in there, but you can see where I sanded them. Just run some sandpaper. Yeah, I just used some rough grit. I think it was about 60. Just ran it along there, smooth it out, and you'll see when you run the screen, it's not so bumpy. It's just one of those little things that'll make it a little nicer in the long run. Takes a little extra effort now, but it pays off. Now your tubs will slide back and forth on these runners. They're 2x2s, 1.5 by 1.5. They're 37¼ inches long. I cut a little bevel on the front just to keep the tub from catching as it slides in and out. A square edge would kind of hang up on some of the little ridges on the underside of the lip of the tub, so I just kind of beveled these over. Not necessary, but it's helpful. And there you go, 37¼ long. Okay, the next step is putting the runners on for the tubs. And if you're going to use Formica for the bottom of your shelf, it doesn't have to be stuck, but you just need to lay it on there so you get the proper height. So what you're going to do is pull your tub, and you want to put a little pressure on your tub to get the right mark. So I just lay a piece across here like this and put a little downward pressure. Then come underneath, pull your tub up to your leg, draw a little pencil line right here on the bottom, and then push it back, and you have this pencil line. What you're going to want to do is your runner is going to be right at the bottom of that, but actually we're going to be a little above. So we're going to go about maybe 1/8 of an inch above, maybe 3/16. It's not real critical, but we just want to elevate it just a little bit to get the bottom off of the surface of the shelf. It will still hit the shelf because after you get all the bedding in there and the rats, the weight is going to bubble the bottom down and make it drag a little bit. But we don't want to drag a lot. We want most of the weight to be on the edge of the tub. So that's why we're going to lift this up above the line about 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 of an inch. So we'll go ahead and put a mark here, and that's where the actual top of our runner is going to be. We're going to get the thickness of our runner. We'll place it right here. Put another mark down below. And the distance from here to here, we're going to cut a spacer block. That spacer block, we'll cut 3 of them, and we'll put them along the first leg, second leg, and the last leg. We'll set our runner on top, and then we'll put 2 screws through the outside and into the runner, hold it in place. We'll do that for every level on both sides. Okay, with the 2 top runners installed, you can see that the tub slides nicely on top of the tracks there. Now we just got to do the next 3. Okay, setting the top screen cover is fairly simple now that you got all the runners in. You're going to want to have a spacer that is about, well, I measured it. This one is 3/32 of an inch. 3/32 is about the equivalent of 2 CDs put together. So you want to use something about that thickness. That's what I found works best. It's enough to keep the rats from squeezing through, and it still provides enough tension on the tub sliding in and out so that it can't get easily slid open, by accident and, leave a big hole for them to get out of. So what you're going to want to do is put the spacer in each corner, each 4 corners, and then you're going to want to lower the top down and squish it all the way down onto the top. Not too tight, but just put a little pressure just so that you are in the right position. I leave the shim hang out a little bit, the spacer, so that after I get it screwed in, I can get a pliers and pull it out because it's going to be snug. And if you try and pull the tub out in order to get the shim out, you're going to have it binding up on you. So the best thing to do is leave it hang out a little bit while you fasten it. And just like before, you're going to want to send a couple screws into the side of the frame to anchor it down. After you have it anchored, pull your shims, your tub will slide in and out real easily. At that point, if you're going to put Formica on the bottom, if you've decided to do that, then you can lay the Formica down. I usually just put a piece of double stick tape along the front edge, lay the Formica down, stick it, and be done with it. That way it's not permanently affixed. If I ever had to take it up, it's no problem taking it up. Okay, so I've gone and I've got all the screws and all the posts holding the frame in. You can see that's a little bit snug now. This one's not so bad. So you don't hear that clicking that the raised hash marks along the side would give you. It's a nice smooth sliding in and out. Like I said, enough friction to keep an accidental push open, but well, easy enough to slide. So after you have all your screen tops fastened on, and again they should be flush to the back, this is the back side. You can see we've got all our screen tops. To stop your tubs from going back any further, I just took a 2x4 and screwed it into the back side of each screen frame. That 2x4 happens to be 54 inches long. It could be an inch longer, an inch less, doesn't really matter, as long as it goes down to the bottom and catches that last tub. Don't want any escapees. Okay guys, so here's the finished product. Hopefully you found the video easy enough to follow along, that you'll try it out for yourself. It really isn't that hard. And if you have any questions at all, just fire away down in the comments. I'll answer as quickly as I can. I'm usually pretty quick at getting back to people. I'll also post the cut list up on my website, patuxentpythons.com. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and to all you guys that are already subscribers, I just wanted to say thank you. It means a lot, and thanks for watching.